I'm Andrew Phillips and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to lay laminate flooring in your house. So let's go ahead and get started. Obviously you're going to need the actual wood flooring here for the laminate flooring. So go ahead and pick out your desired color or whatever kind of pattern you want. You want that. Make sure you measure properly to get the correct square footage of what you actually need. Next, you're going to need this T-molding piece here, which is what's used to connect in between, for example, like right there where you have the carpet. Once that's pulled up and the laminate flooring goes there, you're going to need that piece there to connect between the bathroom tiles and that, or any kind of flooring where you're connecting that. So you want to make sure that you measure that as well so you get the correct length and the correct number of pieces that you need. Next, you're going to need the quarter round, which is this piece here. In this case, I'm just going with regular hardwood. So I went ahead and I ordered the right wood stain so I can stain it to match. So in that case, you would need a stain. You also need just a small paneling nails, just 1-inch nails, so that way we can nail that on. You'll need a small hammer to do that. You also need a cutting tool, so that way we can cut the carpet and we can peel all that up. You'll need a rubber mallet to tap this flooring in. This particular laminate flooring is what's called a floating floor. So you'll need this foam, kind of a foam insulation that goes down underneath of it. That prevents any kind of squeaking and also adds some insulation and sound dampening. But in this case here, there's no nailing of the floor. You don't need to apply any adhesive. This floor just gets pretty much just locked together with the tongue and groove. So you'll need a rubber mallet to tap that together. You can also use, I believe it's called a pulling tool to pull that together. I just use just the claw end here, the hammer, to do that. But you can actually buy tools to do that, but you would need that as well. You also need a miter box, so that way you can do the miter cuts on the quarter round for the corners, and then some kind of a power tool to cut the actual laminate pieces once you measure it and get everything laid out. You can either use a jigsaw, or I'd recommend a table saw, which is probably what I'm going to use. So pretty much these are all the pieces then that you will need to complete this project. Since this is where the laminate floor is going to end, we're going to go ahead and make the cut right here. And then once we put the T-molding on that, that'll bridge it and give it a nice clean look. But we're going to go ahead now and take our cutting tool and make the cut right here. We're going to do it on the outer part, and I'll show you a close-up of where we're going to make that cut. So once we do that, then we're going to go ahead and start pulling all this up. We'll make the other cuts at the other doors where this is getting also where the wood floor is also ending. And then we'll be able to rip all this up. We'll vacuum it down real good, clean it before we lay that foam layer, and then we can start laying the floor down. This has now been cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut all around here, get all that pulled back, and then we'll be right back to peel this carpet up and start cleaning. All of the carpet has been lifted up, all the padding has been lifted up, and also all of the carpet nail stripping that goes along the edges. All that's been cleaned up. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to vacuum the floor of any debris or any loose particles that have fallen off. There's a lot of sand that'll come off when you're lifting up old carpet like that. So we're going to clean that up real good. Then I'm going to go around with a hammer and tap in any of the little staples or nails that are still elevated a little bit that were left behind from the padding. We'll bang all that down, and then we'll go ahead and look over everything one more time, and then I think we're ready to then start laying the foam padding, and then we can start laying the actual laminate pieces and measuring where they need to be cut so we can cut them and get them in place. So let me go ahead and vacuum. We'll tap those in. We'll be right back. Now that we've gone ahead and we've banged down all of the staples or nails that were sticking up, the floor's been cleaned, there was a screw that I just had to replace. It wouldn't go all the way down because it was bent, so pulled that out, put a new one in. I didn't want to just leave it off since it's holding this subfloor down. So we replaced that. So now we're ready to apply this here, which is kind of that foam subfloor. The particular one that I'm using is by Traffic Master. I got this at Home Depot. I'll put the price along the bottom. But basically what this is here, this isn't the top of the line. They have some that are more expensive. This is kind of the in-between. But this here, it has a little adhesive strip so that way you can connect the pieces together so that way it's nice and flush. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying it out and cutting it, and then we'll be ready to come back and start laying the floor on top of it. This particular roll is wider than this hallway piece here, so that's good because I don't have to seam two together. Now when we get to the wider spot near the bedrooms, I will have to. So for now, we're going to go ahead and start marking how we need to cut it. So I'm going to get a measuring tape here, and it looks like we've got approximately 4 inches. So I'm going to lay this in here, and we're going to go ahead, I'm going to mark it a little further in since it can go under the door. We'll make a marking here, and we'll measure that out 4 inches, which is right here. And that will be our cut to slide under there. And then I'll do the same here on this side as well. We'll measure that out. It's also 4 inches. So we're right here. Make that mark. Come down 4 inches to here. So I'm going to go ahead and start marking and cutting it, and then we'll lay this out and we'll be back. Now we can take our knife and just kind of trace right along the edge of this floor. That way we get a nice straight cut. That'll come right off here. And we'll do that all the way to here. And then once we get near the door, then we're going to have to draw it out again to make sure it's a good fit. Now this baseboard is perfect because we've got roughly about 1/4 inch clearance. So everything will slide right underneath. The laminate will slide underneath. The quarter round will seal it. It'll be perfect. If it's very close, you may want to consider taking the baseboard off. That way you can tuck everything underneath. But looks like this right here is looking very good. Everything is in. Well, we've got a little lump right here. Got to see what this is. Yep, got something there I need to take up. And then put this back down, and then we'll head down here into this wider piece, and then we'll set that up. Last piece is this little edge right here on the step. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece with the adhesive side. We're going to go ahead and attach it, and then we'll take the blade and then cut it nice and straight here. Let's peel this. Slide it underneath. You want to make sure you line it up nice and straight here along that edge. There we are. Apply it. There we go. Nice and straight. I'm going to go ahead and get the blade. We'll cut this edge off, and then we're ready to start laying the floor. Going to make the line around here. That way when it slides underneath, this door frame here will cover that. And then now I'm going to get a measurement as far as how far. So we're looking at approximately, because you have about 1/8 of an inch of that gap that we're going to leave there. So you're looking at roughly about 2 inches. So we'll come over from that edge about 2 inches right here. I'll go ahead and notch that out. Everything has been cut out. So let's go ahead and slide that in. Perfect. Perfect fit. We'll leave that 1/16 of an 1/8 of an inch gap like that. And we're good. Quarter round to go in there and fill that gap. I'm getting ready to start laying the floor out now. Going to go ahead and start attaching some pieces. That's where the rubber mallet's going to come in handy to do that. And then as I go along, I'm going to start marking all the pieces that need to be cut so we can get all that done in one shot. Now, what I recommend is the length of the room. It's good to have the wood grain running in that direction because that kind of accentuates the length and the size of the room. If you go sideways, a lot of times that can make it look more closed in, smaller, but that's personal preference for you. Pick however you want to do it. I personally like doing it the length of the room. Since this hallway is a long ways this way, we're going to run the wood grain and the panels in that direction. So I'm going to start laying these on. We're going to start banging it together, cutting the pieces as needed, and then we'll be back. If you have a table saw or any kind of power tool that'll cut a straight line, it definitely helps. You can see there. Now the jigsaw does come in handy if you're doing some of those notched out corners like I had to do for around the door. Now the way that this laminate flooring here works is you have this tongue and groove. So basically the one piece will clip in here and then it'll come around here and lock in like that. And then that's how your floor goes together. So when you're putting it in, you want to put it in on an angle and then clip it in and then use the rubber mallet just to kind of lock it in. And then that holds it in place like that. All right, so I have this piece here that we just cut that's going to go right in here to form this edge of the step. I am leaving a gap here for the bullnose that's going to get mounted here on the edge of the step and then curving over. So we do want a little bit of space for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. We want to make sure that it goes in as we just saw. Get a nice tight fit. And then we're just going to bring it down like that. Take the rubber mallet. There you go. Locked in place, nice and solid. Starting the second row here, and I like to stagger my flooring so that way each plank doesn't line up right on point, because then if someone sees the seam it looks just too fake. So what I like to do is I like to cut approximately 8 to 12 inches off every other row, so that way it's kind of staggered and it has the pattern looking more like real wood. I'm going to go ahead and lock this down and then I'll get a close-up of that so you can see it. And here's the seam on the first row, and then I've cut this one back to be here. So that also has, so that way as you're seeing the wood grain pattern on the floor, it kind of makes it look a little more realistic, like actual hardwood. All right, I have a little bit of a tricky situation here because I started the floor here, and even had I started it here, I would have been in the same predicament because you have the door frames with two different doors right here in this area. So now what's happening is when I had the piece in here, it was hard to get that tongue and groove to latch and lock because you have to raise it and hit it in. And there's no way to do it because you have the door frame and you have all the molding. So what I'm going to do is I went ahead and I put those in. I pulled this one out, and I'm just going to hammer it up with the rubber mallets up the track, and that'll just slide it right in place and take care of that. I've added a slight piece here on the end so that way I don't damage the lip on this one here. And then with that, just slowly and gently tap it up. You'll see it just sliding up the track there. And then we'll keep doing that until we get it all the way up in position. And then we'll do the same with this piece since that's another awkward piece going in there. All right, well, I went ahead and I hand cut this with a hand jigsaw so I can get the exact pattern that goes along in this corner. So now what we'll do is we'll slide this in. You can see that's a perfect fit. We'll lock that in, and then we'll hammer it in with the rubber mallet further in, and then put another piece here to fill that up, and that'll take care of this whole piece right here. I need to lay the floor in this linen closet now, and as you can see it's a tight squeeze because there's no way to get on the other side to hammer the pieces together once they lock in place. So what I'm going to do to make it easier, I'm going to build this whole floor. I'm going to go ahead and remove this floor mount for the closet door. I already unscrewed it, so that way I can now slide the piece in there. So what I have here is I pretty much cut out the whole piece. So now it makes it very easy because all I have to do is slide it under the baseboard, let it fall in place here. There we go. And then now we can just slide this whole piece in. There you go. And then we just put the floor mount back, and then this is all done. Just finished the floor, and you can see it goes there into the linen closet, coming in here, back up a little bit, and curving right here. There you can see the hallway, and then meeting right there. Now the steps are going to be done at a later time, so the actual stair nose piece has not been put in yet. That'll be done at a later time, which is for a different video. If I even film that, I don't know, but you can see here it turned out really good. So next, the only thing left is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put the quarter round strips along the edges, and then we're going to put the T-molding strips here where the carpet meets the floor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set the tracks in place, let them dry. While they're drying, we'll check on the status of the quarter rounds, which I stained, so we can start using the miter and cut them on the right angles and get them in place, and then that should pretty much wrap everything up with this project. We're going to go ahead and mount this. This is the metal track here that the T-molding sets in, and you can kind of see the shape there, and it pretty much locks in here. You tap it in with a rubber mallet. Going to go ahead and get a measurement here. Then we're going to cut this accordingly, and then we're going to go ahead and use an epoxy and set that in there to dry, and then we'll move on to the other doors, do the same thing, and then we'll be right back so we can get ready to mount the T-molding. We have the measured track now. What you want to do is make sure you clean that area real good. You want to make sure that you get a good bond. And what I'm going to be using is this product here. And this is by Bostik. It's the 915FS fast setting polyurethane sealant and adhesive. This is what is recommended by a lot of installers that do laminate flooring installs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this. We're going to put a light strip in here. And then I'm also going to take just a tack nail and just nail it down as well, just to keep it in place. So that way we can then go ahead and move on to the other ones, and then we can start letting this stuff set. So. I went ahead and I cut this piece of T-molding. So we're going to slide that right in here. line it up with the track, and then we're going to take this rubber mallet here and just tap it into place, and that'll take care of that one. You can see there it's nice and flush going there. Everything is nice and tight. And you can see here on the other side as well. It's nice and solid. So we're ready to move on to the other doors, and then we'll be back. What I had to do here is I had to get a saw and cut a straighter line where the floor was coming out was not completely even. And what was happening is that the track wasn't laying in there properly. So just had to mark that and cut it. So now we're just going to go ahead and clean that out, vacuum that out real good so we can apply the adhesive, set that track so we can put in that T-molding. I'm getting ready to do the quarter round now since we're coming up on the end of this project. What you want to keep in mind is when you measure for the quarter round, you're going to measure the wall obviously out to here, but that's going to be your measurement on the inside of the quarter round. Because when we put it on the miter and we cut it, we're going to be cutting it out on this angle. So we want this inner measurement to be with that corner, so that way that'll come out and the other one will match it and it'll wrap nicely. Now if you're dealing with an inside corner, and I'll show you that. With an inside corner, it's different. The measurement is going to be on the outside of the quarter round, because at that rate, when you measure it out to the outside, we're going to be mitering it this way, so we're going to be cutting off so that way it can meet the other one in turn. And we'll go down in the miter box and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I cut it. Okay, here's the marking I made here. This is on the outer measurement of the baseboard, as we talked about. So we're going to be using this angle here on the miter. So what I'm going to do is line up that mark with that there, put that in like that. So then as we take the saw, it goes right in here. And then as we cut it, as you can see, that's going to give us that angle that's then going to wrap around the baseboard. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and then we'll go ahead and put it on. There's the angle, nice and clean. So let's go ahead and take it upstairs and see how it lines up. Put it on here. There you go, perfect. So now we'll cut the other piece that'll come out to here, but we'll do that after I have the stair nose that goes on here, which is not going to be for a later time. So that won't be in this video, but we'll leave it this way, and then the other one will connect and meet up to the nose. So let's go ahead and attach this and then do the rest of the flooring. Next, I'm going to use these very small panel board nails and go ahead and nail this on. And what I did is I took a drill, used a very small bit just to drill a little pilot hole so that way it wouldn't split the wood. And then we can go ahead and just bang that on. And then I'll go ahead and just use a small, either like a little screwdriver or a little stud to bang that all the way in without damaging the wood. There it is, all complete. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the quarter rounds, and then we'll be back to see the completed floor. Okay, well this pretty much wraps up this video on how to lay down your own laminate flooring. I hope this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm constantly posting things pertaining to automotive repair, home improvements, casino game modifications and repairs, and all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. So there's definitely a lot of good content coming out regularly, so I would appreciate the support. And I'll see you next time.